Caravan. You've been subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need, and not what you don't.
Yes, it's just what you need and not what you don't. Tony Caravan here for another edition of the morning show. And I'll tell you, I need that caffeine today more than ever because
it's an excursion into the odd and into the very, very different.
Brilliant!
Well, for those of you who managed to spend some time with me yesterday for the marathon broadcast, St. Patrick's Day broadcast, we did go 3 hours, and I'm just going to bring up the copyright. Here we go. So a copyright owner using content ID, blah, blah, blah. This is not a copyright strike. The claim does not affect your account status. However, you've been blocked and can no longer be played on your video. It was blocked and can't be played on YouTube. St. Patrick's Day live on Tony Caravan. Come on, Eileen. Come on, Eileen blocked me. Okay, that was one. Next one. Blue Money, Van Morrison got blocked. Moondance, Van Morrison. Caravan by Van Morrison, if you ever heard that song. I guess Van doesn't like me anymore. I think he wrote a song about me. I may be wrong, right? Because I said something on a webcast. I don't know. Did you ever hear that song where he criticizes a guy on a webcast? It's like back in the late 90s. I think he misunderstood what I was saying. Into the Mystic. And that was basically it. So the thing about it is, you know, the Pogues, I played like a long version. I'm going to take a quick look here just for those who are curious. The Clancy Brothers, the Pogues and the Dubliners, even the Cranberries and Real Big Fish, no copyright strike or copyright thing, but basically Van Morrison and Dexy's Midnight Runners. You know, and you know what the weird thing about that is? I mean, I took the video down because I'm not messing with it. You know, I'm just happy to be on here and have the morning show, right? And which is a little bit late today as we look out the window here. My view from my ocean cam that I have set up. Wouldn't you like to live here and have that view? Does it look straight to you? But no, I don't. That's not to say that I could probably I should play the Pogues, you know, though it is interesting. But the thing about, and the Van Morrison songs were old, and of course Dexy's Midnight Runner, because I had, you know, I don't know, if he's listening, or if he listens to this later, but I had a dude from Ireland who was on the show for a while, was texting, chatting back and forth with, and he was even mentioning how, he remember Eileen, his mother was Eileen, and how that song used to always end up being sung at the breakfast table in his house in Ireland. I had a guy from Holland checked in. I had more worldwide viewers, popping in and popping out over the course of the 3 hours than I did people here in the States. But I have to admit, overall, it was a pretty good show. I watched a playback afterwards up to about 2 hours. I couldn't sit there for 3 hours and watch it, and probably the 3 hours is where it got kind of crazy. But let's just look at the
Weekend weather.
even though it's Thursday, March 18th, the day after St. Patrick's Day. I've got to look beyond my microphone, so it's kind of weird here what I'm doing. It's 43 degrees here in the mid-Atlantic states. We're on the East Coast, but not on the coast, eastern side of these once United States, the former United States. And Friday, the weekend weather is looking like this: 45 in the day, 25 overnight. Saturday, sunny, 55 in the day, 30 overnight. Sunday, 59, probably end up being 60 because it's going to be a sunny day, and 34 overnight. And going into next week, we're looking like we're in the low 60s and slightly above freezing overnight. I plan to do some planting either Sunday. I'm at least going to put some new soil down Sunday, and I'll probably do some planting Monday or Tuesday of next week. That was your weekend weather. So
Brilliant!
And the cat's in the litter box. I don't think we're going to go too long this morning, but I just wanted to get back. I want to thank anybody who stuck with me yesterday during that. It was fun. I made my Guinness half and half, smoked a couple of cigars on the air. And only got, and really only got three or four copyright hits. I deleted them. I deleted the video. I'm abiding by, the rule. Like I said, you got to understand the rules of the game. And the rules of the game go something like this. You got to be thankful to the Google, YouTube gods, small g, that, we have the privilege of being allowed to broadcast live, and that they've got the technology that, for the most part, apart from some audio anomalies and things, even though this microphone is a decent microphone and it should be good, my chair is slipping down. Like I said yesterday, but in case you didn't get it, I did get my 1,400 smacko jackos from the federal government, or actually from the Fed, I guess, because they manufactured that $2 trillion. Excuse me. I had to clean off the mustache a bunch of times yesterday to get that Guinness mustache. Even if you don't have a mustache, when you're drinking Guinness, you get a mustache. But I guess I forgot to say, good morning. Good morning once and one and all,
He went forward to another time, 1,000 years from now.
Here's what's happening.
So yeah, we made it through the day. There's still a broadcast up the morning where I allude to the fact that I may or may not be doing a St. Patrick's Day marathon. This is yesterday, and that morning show was only about an hour long, but it wasn't bad. And I think there were some, little segments. No, I didn't play enough songs. Like there were like seconds of certain songs. My eyes are like kind of droopy. I could have probably stayed in bed longer, because of, I don't know how many beers I had yesterday. Let's see. Counting, a major, I don't know, well more than a pint. I was making some halves and halves, but well over a pint of Guinness and a lager, a six pack plus the Guinness. So yeah. And but it was only 3 hours. I mean, it could have been worse. I was lucky I quit when I quit. And then I just ate some nonsense. Apparently this thing doesn't seem to bother anyone. So, but
Let's get this show on the road.
Yeah, what the heck, it worked. I'm really not that upset about it, and the fact is, if you missed it, you missed it. It was like, it was a live show, a live event. So maybe the live events aren't meant to really be archived. It's like the whole experience is experiencing it live. But, definitely I was amazed, unless they just didn't get around to it. So I just, they blocked it. So maybe it takes longer for the algorithm to discover some of the other songs. But what would be really neat to do, and I'm not going to do it because it's hard enough just doing the things that I end up doing, finding enough time in the day. But somebody should find a list of songs of real music that you can play on YouTube that you won't get a copyright notice and a potential which could lead to a strike. Now, I'm not talking about that nonsense. Like, every one of us who's on YouTube, if you're watching this, you're a YouTuber, basically. All right. So the idea is that, these shows they pick from this music somewhere. And what's really, and why I think that the music publishers, the musicians, writers, should be against this, up in arms against this, is that a lot of the music that you so-called approved music isn't like they're saying they approve you playing the Pogues. No, that's the thing. That's the list I'd like somebody to compile. Like, is there, and see if we could get it verified. In other words, are there artists, record companies, labels, whatever out there that say, hey, you can play this, and that we could actually have a show where a guy like me can be a VJ, a real VJ, real video DJ, and I could sit to you and talk about a song, and we could get into it and things like that. And there apparently are, and there may well be thousands of them. So it's a challenge to put out there, But I wanted to get back to this other thing, just because for the sake of the rant, and just it's like something that always bothers me a little bit. Excuse me. I was gonna actually have this Starbucks cold brew coffee this morning. I'm not a Starbucks person, but I picked it up at the supermarket. Test out my which I'll probably have tomorrow on tomorrow's show. But this is just my last carbonated caffeine cola. And it's too carbonated. For me anyway. But you know what I'm saying? There's probably, we all have certain YouTubers that we follow. And some of these have themes. Like, without naming names, there's that one guy out in the Canadian woods, and he's got that theme. And when I first watched him, I've been watching him for a couple of years. He's had his ups and downs. He's moved to a new location now. You know who I mean. And there was this certain tune that, and I thought that was like his theme song somehow, until I saw that, like, another YouTuber, that Doug and Stacey, Doug, he's the guy, he's building some kind of log home for his mother on his property. They've got a homestead. He wears the Amish clothes, but he's not really Amish. You know who I mean? I don't know. If you haven't checked out Doug and Stacey, he's kind of funny because, I don't know, maybe you won't appreciate, but he screws up a lot. But man, he works his butt off, and he's like a good guy. But I've heard that same song sometimes used on his show. And then on other shows, it's like there's certain tunes that just, people are pulling out of this YouTube approved music. And I don't know if I sometimes when I'm so used to that, when I clean my Let's see the trash here. Okay, I didn't do it. So the bottom says, bottom of this copyright thing, need copyright safe songs? When choosing music, you can avoid copyright related issues by picking a song from the YouTube audio library. We're adding tracks all the time. Now the question is, can I get there without like interrupting this webcast? And let's see. This page isn't available. Try searching for something else. That's interesting. That was weird, actually. But anyway, yeah, before I delete that, I'll check that later and get back to you the next time. So yeah, they have these songs. I think I've seen it once. It's like, and it's just this, but the point I was trying to make is some of these songs are, but there's this other group of, I was watching, following for a while, some guy and his wife doing some building. You know, I get into some of that DIY stuff. And they had a couple of tracks on their show, you know, over the past times I've watched it. I skip through a lot of their stuff now because it's like the same repetitive thing every day. They're like, you know, milking their goat, and then later on, you know, counting eggs. But in the middle is usually content where they're doing something that's more interesting. So I just watch that. But they've had some audio tracks on, and the audio tracks are basically like Muzak versions of a song, or a copied version of some song, any kind of song, rock, country, whatever it would be. Do you understand what I'm trying to explain? In other words, it's like it has this, it almost sounds like it's that song, but they mix the notes around a little bit. So in effect, they're you know, they're stealing the music. You know, and it's a way for YouTube to get around to paying royalties to you know, to the original songwriter. You know, I mean, you know, it would be like, I don't know, let's see, you know, just think of any song. But it would be like just taking Smoke on the Water, if you know what that song is, just for the sake of it. Instead of being in like, it would, you know, this thing would go, but I mean, it would be the same, in the same key. It would be the same instrument. You know what I'm saying? So in effect, that, as far as I'm concerned, that's as much theft as anything else, because you're stealing the song. You know, it's like, you know, it would be like, you know, it's like Kentucky Fried. Somebody is, you know, there's a Kentucky Fried Chicken store, and across the street, somebody opens Kentucky, you know, Fresh, you know, or some Kentucky, you know, super fried, you know, chicken legs or something. You know, I mean, I don't know. I'm half awake from yesterday, but you get the feeling. And what happens in that case, because a lot of people try to do that, usually lawyers get involved, they sue, and they win for the Kentucky Fried Chicken, for somebody who's trying to copy it, because what they're doing is they're going at, you know, it's a blatant, obvious attempt, and a jury or a judge could easily see that this was a copy. But for some reason, big tech nobody dares challenge big tech, because they're the all-seeing eye. They have big data, and they control communications. So you don't buck the system. That's why I just, you know, I just took the video down. Well, they blocked it. So I don't understand why. What's the difference? They may as well just erased it. You know, they blocked it. So if it's blocked, what can I do with it? I mean, unless they're thinking I was going to like somehow go through it and try to pull, where, you know, the music out of it. But I mean, it wasn't that kind of thing. It was just a free form, me talking over some stuff and reminiscing and stuff. But yeah, nobody wants to go against them because they don't want to lose their ability to communicate. It's the same with all social media. It's like you're walking on eggshells. And that's what I was saying the other day about playing the game, figuring out how to play the game, the rules of the game, whether we like it or not. There doesn't seem to be, we're beyond that point of where there's going to be any kind of court challenges against the corporatocracy. There was a guy named Louis Armstrong, for those of you who aren't familiar with musicians and jazz and all that. I saw Louis Armstrong live on the Steel Pier in Atlantic City when I was a kid. That means nothing to anyone under a certain age. But he always had the handkerchief out because he would play this trumpet and he'd be sweating and all that stuff. So it's like, this is my little tribute to Louis Armstrong, except I guess it's kind of a little, well, it's weird. So yeah, that's, so what do you do? And that's what I've been trying to say. I'm saying that we live under a corporatocracy that has complete, total authoritarian rule and control of our lives. Is my mouth in sync? I thought for a second there. Sometimes these things, they get out of sync. I think I'm off by just a little. It might have been because I opened that other browser. But it's close enough. The mustache helps hide it anyway. Yeah. They do the same with my own music too. That's the thing. My stuff. Quite frankly, I don't care what they do with this. This is my first album. This is the one I tell you. When you go to Spotify, if you see that face, this is like my original album that I put out a long time ago. I don't even remember the date. Let's see. 2015. So that's already almost 6 years ago. This stuff isn't that good. It really isn't. Now, this thing, on the other hand, which is they're closing down this was Amazon's digital, or Amazon's media on demand or something like that. And unfortunately, it's not digital. It's an actual CD. And I talked about the other day how you could just get a CD player. You got $1,400. If you don't have a CD player on your computer, you could get one. And then you could get these CDs, or you could go to these thrift stores or find cheap CDs places. And if you just stick this CD in your CD player, I don't care if you have Mac, Windows, whatever your computer is, you could automatically add them to your iTunes or whatever your digital music player is and digitize them. So, this has a lot of tracks on it. This is the good stuff. And I've got glare on there now, but I don't know if you could freeze the screen. So that's that. So it was a lot of fun yesterday. I mean, like I said, I'm kind of tired. Pooped, and sure enough, it got blocked. But like I have no regrets. It was fun. People were coming in and out all day long. I mean, I never held a captive audience, like a real big audience, at any one particular time. But there were people just coming in for bits and catching 20-minute segments, whatever. Here and there. It was great. And it was from all over the world, which was neat. So it was nice to know that there were people out there celebrating St. Patrick's Day. And, though there were some people that wanted, the moment they'd see, when we first started out, I made the Guinness half and half. So I had the classic pint glass so you can see the Guinness and watch the Guinness, doing its foaming thing and everything. But then later I switched to a mug, a metal, classic beer stein type of mug. But I'd hold the beer stein up or whatever, and I'd see the number go, whatever. Or when I take a puff off of a cigar, the numbers would go down, or if I'd see somebody come on, I'd be like, cheers. And then they'd quick hide, like as if I could see them. It's like, or whatever. I don't know. I don't ever understand that, people. And I don't think people understand how this whole thing works. But whatever the case may be, it was a blast. And this is the the day after show. And I just wanted to get back on, talk about that. So, and the two takeaways of the idea that no one's going to challenge this copyright thing, because they're just too powerful. And no one's going to copyright them using that make-believe, near-sounding music to get around copyright. Even though I'm sure that if anyone took them to court on that, if BMI had the balls to do it, BMI would win for the artists. And, I'm a BMI artist myself. So it's like it should be done, because they're in effect, why not play my music on YouTube? Did you get your morning show mug yet? I mean, you must have gotten your $1,400 by now. What are you going to do with that? Get a shirt, like, then what? Or back here, everything you know is wrong. You see on the bottom here. Or Tony Caravan's Codex, my book. Go to TonyCaravanLive.com, And how about your solar? It's a solar panel on top of that. Solar.
Today and tonight, a soaking rainfall between 1 and 1.5 inches is forecast for today through.
Yeah, it's raining out there. The radio that has a solar panel on the top, so it charges with solar. You lift that up, and it's like a reading light. It's got a ridiculously bright flashlight. It's kind of SOS thing. There's a hand crank in the back, so you apparently can. It's showing. It holds its charge really well, but apparently you can do this. I don't know why the coloring changed, but that light must have freaked out my camera. I hope it didn't destroy it for good. But you can charge with the hand crank. There's also AM, FM radio on there too. Let's see. There we go. We're back to normal. You get that too. GreatSolarStuff.com. Remember, these kind of things in a storm, you're gonna want that's NOAA radio, so you're gonna want to know what the weather is. And the real, like I say, the real kicker on this thing, it's very hard to see. Maybe if I turn this light on, it'll reflect up. Or if I turn it this way, there we go. You see right here, these are two different kinds of USB ports. And so you can emergency charge your cell phone, with this, if the power's out. Say the power goes out for days like that, what happened down in Texas and stuff. I mean, we're coming up on tornado season. After that, it'll be hurricane season. And after that, we'll be back in the winter, and it'll be snowstorm season, snow, all sorts of reasons why we have power failures in the winter. Ice on power lines. I mean, we have such a primitive grid. You would think by now, when I was a kid, we spent a couple of years, my family moved around a little bit, and we spent a couple of years living down in Atlantic City because my father had a business on the boardwalk down there for a couple of years. And I don't know how many years we lived down there. I know I went to kindergarten down there. So, I mean, that's a long time ago. But I remember we always went back. That was like our vacation spot when we were young, when I was younger, when I was a child. But I have childhood memories, and we have home movies too. So it's like the home movies help refresh your brain, that you did something. But down there, because of the wind and the storm, and I guess just the ocean and stuff in general, because down at the shore, when you get a storm, the water, it's called storm surge. Inevitably, even if it's not, you don't really get hurricane. Rarely do you get hurricanes, and that was Atlantic City, in Jersey, South Jersey. I mean, the storms come up, but I mean, it's once in a proverbial blue moon. But even when you get like a heavy rain, like you're just a storm, the water will come up, you'll get storm surge, and I guess, and winds and strong winds and things like that. And I don't know if that was the motivation or whatever, but I remember like where we lived, and I guess it was most places down there, but I don't recall completely. That was the first place where they had the power lines were underground. So, they were all, I guess the world's biggest conduits, underground. And so there were no telephone poles. And if you really think about it, the next time and I take photos and stuff, and I'll have to do that. Look up sometimes. Next time you're walking down some street somewhere. I mean, in places like New York and stuff, for the most part, the power lines are bare, that stuff's all underground. But I mean, in your average city, borough, township, wherever you live, you got all these poles, these wooden stick poles which is basically the power grid. And of course, the cable wires and, your internet service, television service, everything's on these wires. And there's these big transformers, and those things get old, and they, sometimes they blow up and stuff, catch fire. And it's the year 2021. And you'd think by now, they would have taken that stuff and put it underground. Like, my whole idea for, you wanted to do a nice public works project. I would simultaneously have this project where I would take down the poles, take the wiring and all that stuff, bury it underground, like I say, in this conduit with some kind of access ports to it. And then I would put a monorail system, like a Disney monorail system, so that you can utilize that sky space that's been taken up by poles anyway and wires, right? And you could have some kind of like sleek monorail system, real thin and sleek, like just like not like two people wide, but like one person wide, enough for you to walk and get in your chair, like one person wide, and it's just my science fiction vision of the future. Just isn't going to happen, because this is the future, and the future turned out to be a dystopian nightmare with an authoritarian state where big tech has control of big data, and so what they say goes, and politicians are just marionettes. My repetitive theme. Excuse me. And that's just the way it is. But life goes on. So as long as you play by the game, the rules of the game, you'll get by. I don't particularly approve of that at all, actually. But what can you do? That's the only way to find happiness under an authoritarian state, in a world economic forum, Great Reset existence, is to know the rules are, and somehow, figure a way to live your life out the best as possible, by letting them think you're, following their rules, or following their rules, just, getting around it, in your own, being removed so you can get around it and live the best you can, instead of just being one of these.
Only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Instead of walking around like most people who are scared to death, every day. But I don't know what's going to go on. I've been like just trying to think about this. This is gonna make a noise. I just want to move this down a little bit. Excuse me. Testing 1, 2, 3. So maybe I'll just dip this down so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just trying to lean down. I'm tired. Talking to you folks into the microphone. But so, people got this money. All right. And I mentioned this in the show live yesterday, but for those who had no interest in that, I guess this will be new. But think about it. It's been over a year since the first 2 weeks to flatten the curve thing. And at that point, companies had already laid off employees. So people were, and encouraged them not to. It's not like they were fired. Encouraged them to keep them on because they were going to put this stimulus bill together. So you had millions of people who were basically unemployed and eligible for unemployment. I might as well bring this back up. There's my Guinness hat over there. And apparently they have been receiving unemployment, almost for some, not everybody, it depends on what your wage was. But the lower your wage, the better you fared. Okay. Because because in the first stimulus thing, you got $600 on top of your unemployment, a week. And so some people weren't even making $600 a week. So even if their unemployment was only a couple $100 or, $100, $200 or something, they were making $800 a week. $1,600, $3,200. That's, that's almost $40,000 a year to sit at home. So like the less you made, the more you made, more so to speak. And apparently, even though they only get 400 over now, it's the same deal. If you were, if you're only getting 200 from unemployment, a week or something like that, you add 400 to it, it's $600. 600 times 2, 600 times 4. All right. It's $2,400 dollars a month, and, 10 months, that's $24,000. Add another 48 to it. It's, it's just under $30,000 a year, which is, unless you're living in, the Upper East Side in Manhattan or in San Francisco, 30 grand is a reasonable working woman's salary, right? But for people who are making more, it's the same thing. Some people, if you were making, what if you're getting $600 unemployment and you get 400 topped on it? That's $1,000 a week, right? So you're getting $50,000 a year salary. I mean, you might have been making more than that, but I mean, if you can't like cut some corners and live off $50,000, again, unless you're living in some kind of lap of luxury, total materialistic, obsessed consumer, on their consumerism tax farm, and being the real, I've got to buy this on QVC, I got to buy that. I mean, I'm telling you to buy my book, $12.95. I'm telling you to buy my CD. It's something like that too. Even like one of these supercharger, flashlight, weather radios, solar reading light, cell phone charger things, only like $35 or something, right? It could be a lifesaver for you, or certainly make your life a lot better through natural disaster, which happens, and I think are going to happen in more frequency. So what I'm getting at in this, and today's show is not going to be long. Just keep it under an hour. Is that okay? So you've got people for a year have been basically been getting paid to sit around. Okay. You can't get kicked out. You haven't been able to get kicked out. So a lot of people just haven't paid their rent in a lot of areas. They gave us $1,200 cash last year. Then didn't we get $600 a little while ago? And now we got $1,400. So the 14 and the 6 is 2,000 plus the 12, that's 3,200. So an individual who basically got laid off this time last year has basically been getting paid almost full salary or more than full salary for a year and got $3,200 on top of it. And if that person was married, the couple together, they got almost twice that. No one, and what here's the kicker. And what the big thing last year, that seemed to be a surprise to people, but it wasn't a surprise to me because I bring this up all the time. Previously owned cars, as they like to call them, instead of used cars. It's like people call them tiny houses, like the tiny house movement. They're mobile homes, they're trailer homes. And when you put more than one tiny house in a grouping, it's called a trailer park. I love how this like generation now, they try to like pretend. It's like, somebody says, hey, we got a tiny home. And then they go to these places, they cost them $40,000 and they buy a $40,000 tiny home. It's like, man, you're living in a trailer park. You're living in a trailer. And those trailers are much better than those tiny houses. And besides, if you had a trailer, you could have souped it up to make it, Anyway, that's just another one of those things. I laugh at this generation now. We got a tiny home. You're living in a trailer park, man. And they're uppity people these are the type of people that would look, put their nose up, to somebody living, and make some derogatory remark about somebody living in a trailer park or call them trailer trash, right? Those kind of people, which I don't, because I mean, I'd live in a trailer, like that. I live in a small house. It's a detached house. But quite frankly, I wouldn't have cared if it was a trailer or not. I just don't like people that, they think they're better than you because of some reason. But then they go out and they're basically just change the wording. And so they're basically living like you. And they're more of a sucker because they paid more because someone gave it a different name, right? It's like Starbucks coffee. If you sit down, they used to have the Coke and Pepsi taste tests and stuff like that. Remember that stuff? When I was younger, we used to have, I'll get back to this topic because we're just talking about income and the absurdity of it. But I used to know this one guy, I used to hang out with our crew, really. And he was a Rolling Rock guy. Okay, Rolling Rock beer. Now, Rolling Rock from back then is not Rolling Rock now. The brewery kind of went out of business or was sold off, and then, I don't know, Pittsburgh Brewery or somebody like that took it over. It's like they take it over. It's the original recipe type of thing, blah, 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 but it's just not the same beer. And if you knew that beer, you knew it wasn't that thing. Because there's a lot of things. It's like, it would be like taking Jack Daniels and trying to take the Jack Daniels recipe and make it, in, Kansas. Because, there was a number of factors, and those kegs, the wooden kegs, the way they make the kegs, the way they fire, the tradition, the tradition of doing it, and even maybe the Kentucky, the temperatures and all there's like a million factors into, why, that particular, say, a Kentucky whiskey or something like that is what it is. But anyway, this guy, he was like, Rolling Rock is the best. We were going to have a friend had his dad, they had in their basement of their house was a bar that was, I guess, built many, many years ago, and it wasn't really used. It was like in their basement, and we kind of discussed. It was like one of my best friends in high school, and it was like graduation time, and I lived in the coal region type of thing. So it's like, we were already drinking in high school anyway, and I guess the dad was nervous, but he was going to let us look the other way, let us go down there, get a keg, or graduation. We had graduation party. At my graduation party, we had a keg of root beer and a keg of beer. All right. Type of thing. People were more responsible then. Like I said, the drinking age in New Jersey was 18. In New York, I think it was 19. Maryland, it might have been 18 or 19. It was a different thing. It was the idea, if you were old enough to go over to Vietnam and lose your life in the war, you were old enough. The idea was you were old enough to get a drink, to have a beer, right? And there was no arguing against that. There was no sound argument against it. And, it's funny, nobody ever brought that argument against, when the Gulf War thing came back, and 18-year-olds were going over there. It's like, hey, if you're old enough to go fight the war, fight for this country, fight, die, or get more, really injured really badly, and you can't walk into a bar, the absurdities that we have, but it saved. No, it didn't save lives. If you statistically, I forget what it is. I had it up a couple of weeks ago. There's still like a ridiculous amount of people dying from car crashes, right? Crazy. It's the same, DUI things become a money-making deal, There's always idiots. See, the thing about it is, what people don't understand about criminals or just stupid people, there's always going to be some stupid person at a fraternity house who's going to do something and fall off the second floor chugging, a bottle of booze because he's showing off, and then die. And then they blame the whole fraternity system and close down all the fraternities, get rid of fraternity row. Well, the fact of the matter is, there's always going to be somebody like that. There's always going to be somebody who's not listening to their friends. And when you say, look, give us your keys, man, you had too much to drink, you can't drive. And they're like, out of control and punch somebody, grab the keys and spin their wheels off into the distance and end up hitting a pole or something, or worse, hurt some innocent person. But there's always going to be somebody like that. And it still goes on to this day. It's why government, government is not, you're the father, the protector of the people. And then why half these rules, laws, and even terms of service are idiotic. because, only it's people. People will do what people will do. And, they've got control of the education system. So instead of teaching people, when they're children, kind of common sense responsibility type of things, they're teaching them some social justice stuff. It's like, you know what I mean? Instead of common sense. Anyway, enough of that. So what I'm getting back to is this. So you got people, millions and millions of people in the US of A, former US of A, because, we have irreconcilable differences. This country's done. All right? It's done. Those who think it is, who want to hang on to something and have the cult of personality, somebody's going to save us or blah, 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 or 22 elections will change this. Ain't going to happen. The people have irreconcilable differences. Doesn't matter court cases, finding that this, that, the other, how voter fraud, blah, 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 this machine, we're not going to use those anymore. It's like I said, with the guy gets, punching somebody out, grabbing the keys and going out and driving drunk or jumping off the building. The same people, thieves, crooks, murderers, rapists, thugs, they're going to do that no matter what. Right. And in this country, we have irreconcilable differences among the people. So it's not a United States. You got a bunch of authoritarian governors, basically, that ascribe to different ideologies. Right. Welcome to dystopia. Some places are like paradise right now. Some people are living great. You're sitting on a rock right now. Look at that beautiful view. All right. What more do you want out of life? Hang out there, with somebody special, or even by yourself, just listening to the sound of the surf. I don't know if you can hear the surf, but listen to the sound of the surf. Turn up the audio of my webcam. So, the idea here is that millions and millions and millions of Americans are basically sitting around for the past year and will be sitting around straight on through into September. And they just got another $1,400 in cash, right? Just magically appeared in their bank account, or they're going to get a check or however they get it, right? And so what are they going to do? Are they going to do what they did last year, which I started this thing off? They bought cars, used cars. Car sales last year after the $1,200 check, and when these people were laid off, were through the roof. It was like a banner car year. And what do you hear me repetitively say, those who listen to my show all the time? That the network TV people, the news readers, who are all multimillionaires and have no matter what they say or how they present it, they have nothing in common with you as an individual. Because they're multimillionaires living in gated communities, getting swept to the studios in the morning or evenings, in these limos or these fortified black SUVs. Okay, living a charmed life. They were still going to private parties and restaurants during the lockdown. That they're not getting, there are no paparazzi, as they call it, goes covering it. Those people still living the life. They don't know what it's like to be a average American or an average Brit or an average German. Because Western civilization has collapsed completely. Australia is been treated the worst. At one point, Australia had something like 100 alleged cases of the plague, right? This was and they were under one of the most stringent lockdowns, and they were basically tackling, women and stuff. And I mean, yeah, Western civilization has fallen in that type of thing. I mean, when you have a totalitarian police state, authoritarian governors making edicts, right? And a country completely divided with irreconcilable differences, there's no recovery from that. And like I always say, Rome fell, you ended up with Italy, okay? When British sea power, empire, colonialism fell, you still have the UK, right? When Spanish conquistadors and their conquest era ended, you had Spain, and Portugal or whatever. And the list goes on. When the dynastic Egyptian period ended, you still had, Cairo and, wherever you look, doesn't matter where you look. And people just have to get it through their head. The United States empire has fallen due to irreconcilable differences and the corporatocracy taking over. And the corporatocracy, of course, is big tech, who, big data, big pharma, big ag, military industrial complex, who all influenced all the so-called elected officials and control them, write the laws, the bills, and everything. All right. And these bureaucrats in there, they control them too. They're next on the chopping block. But so what is TV? What's television, right? They're used car salesmen. What's the newspaper? What's the biggest ad you see? Next time, if you ever buy a newspaper, it's like the full page ads you see that are always in there. They're like car sales ads. I don't know. I get these things in the mail. Let's see. I don't get the newspaper, but I get some freebie neighborhood thing because they can't help. But I'm just taking this out of my garbage. I wasn't even rehearsing this. Okay. Look at the back of it. Okay. TriStar. This is some kind of, they're tying it into March Madness, just because they always like to have a theme. But, they're cars. The biggest ad in the entire thing. All right. If you go inside, you just got classifieds and other kinds of ads, right? But the biggest ad, the back cover, is frickin' used cars. And the amount of money they charge for these things, right, is ridiculous. That really cracks me up. Some of these cars have 100,000 miles on it, and they're charging you $10,000 for it. So yeah, one of the biggest things. I mean, I'm glad I just, like I said, it wasn't rehearsed. But I mean, what I'm saying is it's obvious, and you could do it yourself. And it's the same on TV. You turn on a local TV network affiliate, and you'll see the biggest sponsors are used car salesmen or new car ads. And of course, the big farmer, they're selling, pushing some kind of drug. And then the lawyer's telling you that the previous drug that was advertised, 6 months ago or a year ago, that now there's a class action suit and you could get $1 million if somebody you knew died or, or had a stroke or whatever, or lost their kidney because of it. And that's the world we live in, and so, but what's going to happen just to end this thing? Don't go out and buy a freaking car. Get, come on, support. Get a book, get my music, buy something like this. Go to Great Solar Stuff and get yourself a solar, one of those things. I ordered mine yesterday with my check. I ordered one of these. Okay. Can you see that? I ordered one of these things. These are the things you can plug into. So if I get a power failure, I could just plug in, something to it. And then I'm debating whether or not, I'll probably get one pack of those solar panels. They cost, I think you get one of those solar panel get-ups for about $199 for like $200. I'll probably do that. I might do that today. GreatSolarStuff.com. Spend a few $100 there. and have something that, is going to do something. Or like I did yesterday when a friend came down before I had the marathon session, because she took me up to get my Guinness. Because the only place to buy Guinness is up. It's too far for me to walk. It's up this like really ridiculous steep hill. I mean, it's like a mountain. Even in a car, it's like, you're up there in creeper gear to get up there. But on the way up there, there's a nursery, where before I planted my own seeds, did my own seedlings here. And sometimes I still go there, but they're authentic people. So they have compost. They make their own. Buying from them, you're getting the best. And I bought like 3 giant bags of soil for my raised beds. I still need to buy like 4 or 5 more, because this year I'm pushing to really create year-round crops. I want to basically live. I want to be independent, and that's why I want to get see, forget about these idea of them. When I talk about solar stuff, I'm talking about individual, off the grid, or least dependent upon them. Because they like to talk about, oh, we're going to fix the infrastructure, we're going to do all this stuff. But at the same time, they say, oh, we're going to be in part of the Green New Deal. And you got to watch some of my older videos where I explain that those things don't match. Like you can't have both. You can't fix the infrastructure and be a part of the green and have the Green New Deal and the Paris Agreement. Because in order to fix the infrastructure, you need heavy equipment, which exist in every city, all right? And that run on things like diesel, fossil fuels, okay? Organic, which are organic because they come out of the earth, right? And they give that beloved CO2 out that's only 0.004% of our atmosphere that makes our planet green. They co-opted the word green. And that's why we have trees, and that's how we have better crop yields. And we also get that precious oxygen as the byproduct. So we get food and oxygen from CO2. It's not the enemy. It's greenhouse gas. It's what greens the planet. But they want to get rid of fossil fuels, with this Paris Accord, with this Green New Deal. Well, you can't fix the infrastructure. You can't even dig a ditch. What are you going to do with the sewer pipe? What are you going to do when there's a storm knocks down a telephone poles? How are you going to raise that pole? Right? What are you going to do? Right? Yeah, they have electric chainsaws, but electric chainsaws aren't getting through a tree that's like, imagine my whole body, this wide, that falls down on a house. Those electric chainsaws, you'd get part way through and then you'd have to take it home and charge it somewhere. Because where's the power? See, that's what I'm trying to say. Our sewer systems are a mess. They're digging up my street right now, putting in new sewer pipes because they're too old. That's using the toilet, water lines, right? That's infrastructure, the grid. I talked to somebody yesterday, told me that they're, before they came down, all the streetlights were out. There was some power thing. And then after that, their internet was down for like 4 hours. This is the year 2021, right? See, these people they're crazy in the head. They like drank the Kool-Aid. They bought into the nut factory that's pushing out this stuff. These so-called ruling elite that just look at you as a cattle on their tax farm and consumer farm. So don't go wasting your $1,400 on nonsense. Why don't you do something like this? Get the morning show mug. Support this channel. I bought the shirt yesterday too. I bought the you don't know what you don't know, right? And I'm a bigger guy, so I got like a 2XL, so I got some room to breathe in there. I don't need to have a tight shirt on, especially when I'm working out in the garden and stuff like that. And moving your arms around and stuff, I don't want that, And I only paid like 16, 17 bucks because there was something redeem here, whatever. But either way, pick up a shirt for 20 bucks or something like that. Less than 20 bucks. I paid 16. Support people like me who are turning you on to these things, these opening your mind to these ideas and stuff like that. And there's other people like that because I'm demonetized. I tried playing music yesterday. They took down my video. Come on, man. So anyway, I think I'm just going to leave it there. I just wanted to give you an update on what happened yesterday in case you were looking, you thought you were going to watch the show after the fact. It was glorious. It was great. It was
Brilliant.
But, played a couple Van Morrison songs and they decided to, mess with me. So what can I say?
Good morning.
So as always, let me get down to my chat thing. Thanks for watching. And I appreciate it. I'll be here, as I often say.
Same time, same station.
Same time, same station. I don't know. Today I was late, so, what can I do? I was going to roll out of bed, and I could have rolled out of bed earlier, but I decided against it. I said, you know what? For my own health, it's a rainy day out there. I'm not going anywhere. So this is it. Anyway, okay. I hope I imparted something to you that will make your day better. Think about it. Don't waste your money, because once September comes, it's going to be a whole new world when the money dries out. They're not going to keep doing this forever. And then that's when reality is going to set in. And you're going to be glad you watched these shows and you got these things and you're prepared. Take care. Have a great day. And I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.